Well, good evening, everybody. How y'all doing? Glad to see y'all here. Just on a news note, Baltimore County has closed tomorrow, so we're already off. Can't imagine why. So don't send your kids to school tomorrow. Probably won't send them on Friday. Don't send them on Monday. We'll see them sometime, whenever. I'm Gary Werner. I'm a 5th grade teacher. I've been the STEM Fair coordinator for 5-6 years, something like that. This is Miss Kathy Long. She's our school librarian. She's going to be helping out with the research workshop, so you'll be hearing from both of us. But what we're here to do tonight, we're going to go quickly through this so we can beat the weather. And if you have to get any bread or milk or anything like that, toilet paper, if there's any left. We're going to go over the changes to the STEM Fair. There's been some significant changes, especially in grade 5, but also a little in grade 4. And then we're just going to go over an overview of the project, and then any questions, just feel free to ask. Okay? So, really glad you guys are here. Let's go ahead and let's get started. So, here are the updates. Starting with grade 4. And this presentation, I am going to post it to the school website maybe tomorrow, if I have power. If not, it'll be up within the week. Also videotaping it, so that'll be up on the website as well. Okay, and the student packet that's come home for 4th grade will be up there. So all this stuff will be online for you. So here are the changes. There's no change in instruction for 4th grade. They're still doing the too hot to handle unit as they've always done in the past. If you've had an older child go through and you're familiar with that. It walks them through the scientific method. They're going to get the same pack of information that should have come home last week. And they still have to do the project outside of school independently. The change is they can do it in groups of up to 4 if they choose. We are highly recommending groups just because that's more collaborative, it's more authentic. Science is usually done collaboratively, not in isolation. And on a personal note, it makes it easier because there's less projects to grade. So I like that aspect. But it's really good for kids too, just to work together. And so if they want to do it independently, they can, or groups of 2, 3, no more than 4. And so that's the big change for 4th grade this year. Participation is optional. And what will happen is they'll complete their too hot to handle unit. They'll go through a sample project in school. And if they want to do the project, it counts as extra credit. So no matter what they do, if they only turn in like 1 piece of paper and they get like 2 points, it's still all extra credit for them. So that's awesome. And then there is no more GT science in elementary school. They got rid of it this year. It starts in middle school. However, in 5th grade, we make a recommendation to the middle school for those we would think we would want the middle school to consider for GT placement. One of the artifacts, it's not the only artifact, but one of the things we look at is, did the child participate in the STEM Fair? It doesn't mean if they don't, they can't be considered. It's just one thing we look at, that if they did it, hey, this is pretty, significant that this child chose to do it. So it's strongly encouraged for all students, but especially those who would like GT placement in middle school. Okay, for 5th grade, big changes. 5th grade has not had the packets come home. That was not a mistake because we're doing it all different this year. Our former unit, Pendulum Swing as Pendulums Do, is gone. I was actually on the team that wrote the new physics unit, and we integrated some of the pendulums unit into our new physics unit and kind of gave us time to allow the students to do the bulk of the project at school, which is really cool. We're really excited about that, and I'm sure a lot of you are too. Just because if you've done it before, you know it's a lot of work, especially that beginning. Once you get the project to that point of doing it, that's when it's fun. It's the research, the question, all that just takes a lot of time. So we're taking that on in school. And so we're doing workshop-style lessons. We just started that this week. And again, students can work in groups up to 4. They can work independently if they want, but we're really pushing those groups for their sake and our sake. And what's going on is they're going to have class time. It was going to be tomorrow, but it'll be whenever we see them again. We're going to give them class time to generate an idea. And I've been telling my students, think of an idea. And some of them already have ideas. Think of an idea. Think who you want to work with. And the next time we see them, they're going to have a whole class of just research. We're going to get the laptops out. We're going to try to sneak over to the library. We're going to give them time to research. This is a question I want to do. Here's who I think I can work on it with. And I'll approve it on the spot. Okay? Now, everyone's going to do that in school because that's part of the unit. That doesn't mean they have to complete the project. That just means they have to do it as though it was like a mock project. They're going to do the research in school. They're going to come up with a question. They're going to come up with their claim, which used to be called hypothesis. It's now claim. They're going to set up their procedure and the materials. Everyone's going to do that as part of the unit. If they choose to finish the project, actually carry out the experiment at home, put it on the backboard with the graph and all that, then they can submit it for extra credit just like 4th grade does. But the thinking is they will have done the heavy lifting in school with us, and then not that it's easy when they go home, but it's much more streamlined. All they'll have to do is the test and then the graph and put it on the backboard. So that's what we're encouraging them. So everyone will at least get up through the procedure. They'll have a draft of their project, and if they choose to complete it outside of school after the unit's over, then they'll receive extra credit for completing a project. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Cool.
If they're doing it in a group, do they do that part individually or as a group, or either or?
So, you mean in school?
Yeah, they do in school as a group.
Mm-hmm.
How does the other part need to be done?
So, if they're going to do it out, they can do it outside as a group as well. And the only thing for, if you're doing a group project, and that's a good point to bring up, the summary and approval form has to be completed by each kid in the group because each parent has to agree to the rules and regulations. They can just do one abstract and have the same abstract. That's where they describe their project. They can do one per group and just photocopy it, or we send it and we'll photocopy it. But I need each individual parent, even if they're all in a group, to sign the rules and regs. All right. So, 5th grade will be having time to work on it in school, and we'll get through the draft, and then they can take it from there if they so desire. And we're strongly encouraging it because, like we said, we're going to do most of the tedious stuff that they don't really like to do. We're going to be doing in here. All right. Talked about that. Oh, again, participation is optional if they want to finish it. It's going to be extra credit. Strongly encourage it, especially those desiring a possible GT placement. And just because they do it doesn't automatically mean they're GT. It's just one thing we look at as we make our determination. Okay. That's it for the changes. Were there any questions about the changes?
One
Yes, ma'am.
question, she had asked about, they can still work on it as a group outside, but then do they each do their own board?
No,
Or
one board.
It's one board too. Okay.
One board, yep. That's why it's so cool. Because it's one board, and that's all. Now, the logistical thing is you guys will have to coordinate outside of school how to do that. You know, we can't do that. So just be ready for, Mom, I got to go to Johnny's house, or can I go over there? Well, there's 3 feet of snow on the ground, but, you know, Skype works, you know. All right. Any other questions? That was a good question. Any other questions about that? Of course, you always have my email, gwerner, W-E-R-N-E-R, @bcps.org. I'm always available to answer stuff. And I try to get back real quick. All right, so for the overview, real quickly, what is the STEM Fair? It's going to give them an opportunity for authentic, real-world science projects, research, learning, stuff that's going to lead them to that career in science, because we know that's the hot topic right now. It's all about science, technology, engineering, and math. And for my students, I'm really stressing engineering. I really want them to build things. We've done paper straw rockets, if you've heard from my class. We've done paper airplanes. We've done marshmallow and spaghetti sticks. We've done all kinds of stuff. So engineering is really a cool place for the kids to work on. Come on. Well, the technology is going to.
While you're having technical difficulties, I like to put my little commercial plug in there for STEM and being involved in science. It really is important for parents to encourage to go into that type of a field, to try to get our kids interested in it. There are not a lot of kids going into this field right now. My daughter is pursuing her PhD in physical chemistry at the Ohio State University. And it is a great thing to encourage them to go to. She is paid to get her degree. She started her first year. She has tuition covered, and she gets paid enough to live one. I do not have to pay any more money. She has her own apartment. She does work for a research professor doing research. She takes classes. She's on the research team. And it'll take her about 5 years to go through that program, and she'll have her PhD when she's finished. It is a great way to encourage your kids to go into that field, just say, try this. It's, see how it works out. Try to get them to want to do these kinds of things, to go into those fields of science, technology, engineering, and math. That's where they're giving the scholarships. That's where they're willing to encourage kids to come in, and they're going to pay for it for them to pursue these fields. So think about pushing them to do it if they're hesitant, because it can really pay off. It could be the one thing. My daughter was turned on to chemistry by one teacher at Perry Hall High School, and changed her whole idea about what she was going to do. So that one little spark that they can get, you'd be surprised what difference it can make. So if you can, even if they're hesitant, try to get them to want to give it a try and follow the project through all the way to the end.
That's a great point, because we know that's where it's going, and the mantra for us is we're preparing kids for jobs that don't exist to solve problems that we don't even know what they are. And that's our charge, No one would have thought, after Orville and Wilbur Wright flew, that we'd be in the moon within the next 60 years, No one thought of that. That's what we're preparing for. What's going to be their moon, okay? So, what's the first step? So back down to an elementary level now, what's the first step for us? So, your kid's got to find a topic that interests them. If they don't like it, they're not going to do it. And if they do something they don't like, it's not going to be very good. So it's going to be worse than pulling teeth. So they got to find something. Now there's a wide range of stuff. I'm going to get into some of the stuff they can't do, unfortunately. There are some things. And the kids, when I tell them, they're always like, oh, really? That's so fun. Because I tell them, like, you can't blow stuff up. We'll get into all of that. But there's plenty for them to do. But this is important. Harder and complicated does not mean better. Some of the best ideas in science are the simplest ideas. And that's what we want to stress. Do something you love, make it easy. Okay? And try not to do ones where, what shines a penny? Will a plant die if I do this to it? I mean, okay, that's fine. And if that's all they want to do and that gets them interested, great. We want to try to get them past that, because really, I think most of us know if you give a freshwater or saltwater, the one with saltwater is going to...
We pretty much know how any possible thing freezes. Kool-Aid, water, orange juice, milk.
Again, if that's all they're going to do and that works for them, okay.
Right.
But we want to try to push them up. All right, so we're going to give you a flow chart. It's on here. It'll be on the website. That basically tells you if you're going to do an experiment or observation. Okay, and I will lead off by saying the experiment is probably easier than the observational. Observational is kind of boring because you got to sit there and just watch and take data. You can't interact. You can't do anything. You just got to watch. So it's like, how many times will people run a red light? And you just sit there and okay. Actually, I had a kid want to do that one year. So you'll ask yourself these questions. I'm not going to read it to you now because you'll be able to see it online. But basically, you'll ask yourself certain questions, and it'll lead you up to: are you going to do an experiment or an observational project? And again, I strongly encourage them to do an experiment where they're going to test something, or they're going to get quantitative data. Just more interesting to me personally than observational, but observational is fine. That is part of science. But you can't observe things like, I wonder what will happen to Fifi if I give her dog food or if I don't give her dog food. You can't do that. Had one kid want to see what happens if I do or don't give Grandpa's heart medicine. True. Someone, we axed that one right away. All right, so I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Wellen after this, but I love this one. It says, my mom says kids don't learn anything if their parents help them with their science fair project. Well, that's not true. I learned plenty of swear words. The point is, that's why in 5th grade this year we're trying to take it off you, and it's a process. 4th grade, the plan is we'll be doing the same thing in 4th grade as we are in 5th grade this year. But unlike some other curricular offices who kind of may be jumping in whole hog, science is kind of trying to step increase and not do everything all at once. So this is very important. If you can go on Google and get an answer, or just get a recipe for how to do something, it's not really science. And we're going to discourage those. If you can go on Google and say, will salt water kill my plant, and you know the answer, you don't need to test it. So that's my little way of saying, Mrs. Well, go ahead, take it away. What can't they do?
Nobody loves Google more than I do, but for these STEM fair projects, I try to steer them away from Google. One of my best examples to use is if you Google octopus and it doesn't always come up anymore, it used to come up right away. There was a website about the Northwest tree octopus that I showed the kids. It's one of the first hits on Google. Somehow they fixed that, which ruins my teaching. And I show them the website. It's gorgeous. It's a gorgeous website all about this tree octopus. He's in a pine tree. And it takes them a while to go, I don't think that's true. I don't think that's real. And it's not. It's a completely made up website. I wish I had that much free time on my hands to make a website that looks so beautiful that's completely bogus. So we have to steer them in other directions. For things that they have to do some investigation and figure out what's going on. They cannot do any experimental projects involving any kind of animals. This includes humans, anything with a backbone. Observational projects are allowed as long as the investigator has no direct contact with the subjects. So we have a student who was doing, and I guess this qualifies as an observational project, but they were doing research about a particular disease and trying to get data on how many people had that disease and the types of medications that were used and things like that. It was a pretty involved project, but it didn't involve them having people that they had to interview or study. They did a lot of research for that type of project. No, you can't do moldy bread, moldy oranges, moldy anything. You can't, they're not allowed to do that type of project anymore.
And the reason for that is it's just international science fair standards for elementary school, because even though you may work at a clean lab at Johns Hopkins or something, Johnny, who sees it and thinks it's cool, his parents don't, and so when he goes to try to do it because he thought it was really cool, he's not going to have those safety protocols.
No weapons. All right, so after they determine what type of project they're going to do, and they get approval, they have that approval form, then they're going to need to develop their question that's going to lead to their experiment. So it should not be a yes or no question. It should be a question that is going to lead them into the experiment and figuring things out. They're going to need to find out some background about the topic. That's where the research part is going to come in. So they're going to come up with their idea, they're going to fill out their approval form, and a lot of that is going to take place as part of, for 5th grade, as part of the classroom instruction. 4th graders are going to be following the instruction they've gotten from their teachers and the packet that they have, but doing that step at home still.
And I believe 4th grade teachers extended the deadline. I think, was it Tuesday? Okay, because I think they might have said Friday initially, and then now they backed it up. And I told them whatever they determine, as long as they communicate it to you all, I'll support them on that, because we're trying to be flexible with all this weather. Come on. We already saw that one.
Okay. All right. So for getting started, for getting ideas, there's some links you can go to, and like Mr. Warner said, this will be posted so you can go to these sites with your kids. There's also some good ideas on, you can go to Baltimore County Public Library's website, and there's links to science, fair topics there, different places that you can look. We also have, and I'm going to hand out this to you, we have a lot of databases through the public schools that are free to you to use at home. They need passwords, and that's on this sheet that the students can go to, and there is a STEM student resource website. A lot of these will have ideas for STEM fair projects, and you could sit with your kids and go through them, or let them pick out a few and then talk about them and see what's workable for your situation, what would work best. All right, now for the research, they're going to need to find information related to their topic before they move any further. Once they have their project approved, and before they do the experiment, you have to do some research. So let's say you're doing the simple project with the plants to see whether salt water or tap water or distilled water does best for my plants. They have to do some research about plants and about the different types of water to know what is it I'm putting into this experiment and what do I think is going to happen. You need that research piece in order to develop the hypothesis. And they're going to get all that instruction and go through those steps in school so that they know why they need the research first. So we're going to give them some opportunities to do that research as part of class, but I also offer some after-school research workshops that they can come in for and work on their research. They would have to have their approved project proposal done, it's approved, and we know that the projects that they're doing are ones that have already gotten the okay from the teachers. And on this paper, I just changed the dates on this too, because first they were going, one of them was going to be next week. Well, that's too soon, because we're not quite ready. So there's 3 dates on here that the students can choose from. They can come to 1, 2, or all 3 of the workshops, and we'll work on getting the data together that they need, doing some research. In the here in the library, we usually have staff members that stay after with us and help out. Last year we had quite a few staff members that were able to stay and lend a hand. Might need to run off a few more. We weren't sure how many people we have. Here's about 4 more. If we run out, we'll make sure you get it before you leave. So your students are also going to get a permission slip of those dates the next day we have school. So if you're interested in that, I just wanted you to have them ahead of time, so maybe you could do some pre-planning if you think you'd like them to participate in that. Most students who came to the workshops last year, if they came to all 3, they did all the research and wrote their research report within that time, for the most part. So if they would like to come to all 3, that's fine. They can do all 3 and try to work all the way through finding the information and turning it into the report. The report does not need to be long. This is not a lengthy research report. 1 page is usually, yeah.
And a bibliography, that is important.
Right, and they will be learning all about that during their library class, the bibliography and how to put it together. Very simple now, because you can do it all in Word. Didn't have that back in my day.
No, that was
You
bad.
had to make sure you had every comma, every period, every quote in the right spot. But now they can put all the information in Word and it produces it for them. So I'm going through that with them now. We're working on that in each class, doing some examples so they will have no trouble with the bibliography. They could do a great report, a great project, the best, no bibliography, it's not moving forward. It will knock them right out of the running for getting to the next level.
And
so,
if it got to that point where it was like, that's a stupendous project, we would work with them and say,
right.
okay, well, let's get that done. But it's one of the things we would want to see done.
And
but
I tell them,
we'll work with them on it.
Right, the students all the time, please just stop in. If you're having trouble with the bibliography, come in, you're right across the hall. Come in, we'll work on it in the morning, we'll get it in and print it out. So that should not stop anyone from doing a project. So we will work on that together as well. So the research report should have an introduction, so that's just giving their main idea about what it is they're researching. What am I looking for? What am I trying to find some background information on? The research report is not meant to answer the question of the project. It's just meant to give them that background they need to make their hypothesis for what they think would happen based on what they figured out. So there's subtopic A, 2 to 3 good details from the research, and B, and then their conclusion. So, like we said, 1 page for that report. Just that background that they would need, and then their hypothesis should flow right from that research.
All right, so looking ahead. Now, when I put this slide in here, this was supposed to be last week, and then I updated it for this week, and I thought, oh my gosh, we're not going to have it this week. So this is, to the best of my ability, this is the correct timing of everything. So don't panic. 4th grade teachers have already started teaching the STEM Fair Unit 2 Hot to Handle. 5th grade teachers will be and have started teaching the scientific method. 5th grade, those packets will be coming home for you to sign if they want to do it, probably without too much more snow in about a week and a half, something like that. And that's if they want to finish it, then you'll just sign that you agree to the rules and regs that we talked about, you know, no blowing stuff up, no animals, stuff like that. And then they'll move forward with that. all projects are due in school on April 22nd. Can't bend on that one because our STEM Fair open house will be on April 24th. And I have to get all the names of the winners to the county the very next day, so really can't bend on that. The reason we picked this day is because it's after spring break, so it gives kids all the spring break if they need to finalize stuff, but they hopefully will have it done in plenty of time. But if you're anything like me, when I was growing up, yeah, I just waited to the last minute, and then, you know, mom and dad weren't too happy about that, but, you know, like it said in that cartoon, I learned plenty of good swear words. Every project that's submitted will be graded, and it does count for extra credit. And then it'll be judged from 4 to 5 o'clock on the 24th. Kids who are participating will have to stay after school to be interviewed by a judge. We did it last year. It seemed to work pretty well. The kids actually really like talking about their projects. I get people from, I get other teachers, I get students from local universities. Sometimes I get students from AP physics courses. I get people, other teachers, you know, I get a wide range of judges. They come in, they talk to the kids, and they really enjoy that. And then the open house is from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. If they, whoever the winner is, because there will be a winner, first place in 4th and 5th grade will go on to the county fair. And that, oh, I didn't put that up there, but I believe it's, off the top of my head, I believe it's May 9th and 10th at Parkville High School. So thankfully it's just down the road. It used to be in Randallstown. Now it's in Parkville. And it used to be an all-day event. Now they're shortening it to a half-day event. So if you've ever been, it's so wonderful that it's half-day. For everybody, it's just great. So 4th grade students, their packets already came home. 5th grade students, like I said, it'll be coming out in the next couple of weeks. Okay, so be on the lookout for that. And I think, yeah, that's it. Are there any questions about anything? Research, guidelines, questions, anything? Yes, ma'am.
If they were to open door, they'd be able to come over as well and...
For the research workshop, sure.
Yep, because we've communicated with Miss Kathy at Open Door, and yeah, yep, we've done that before. Great question. Other questions, did you?
Do they have to type their summary abstract?
I always like to encourage them to do it just because I think it's easier for them. And we've been doing a lot of note-taking in school, and I told them, when you write your procedure, when you do your summary, you can type it all up there. Yay! So, yeah, absolutely. They can handwrite it, but typing's better. It's easier for us to read. It's easier for them to correct if they got to make corrections. But handwritten is acceptable as long as it's legible. Good question. Any other questions? So I'll end the way I began. Schools are closed tomorrow. Probably will be Wednesday or Friday, which makes me sad because in 5th grade we had Tom Tasselmeyer from WBL coming. So how ironic that we're closed for weather. But I see him. He and I go to the same church. I'll see him at church and I'll get him to come back. But yeah, so I guess we'll probably see them Tuesday, maybe. Hopefully. So yeah, so I want to thank you all for coming. Really appreciate it, and just always send me any questions in an email. I'm always available. Thank you.
Thank you.